Hey everybody, I wanted to give a different change of topics for a minute just because it's in the news. I've been silent about it because I'm all about being positive, and I want to talk about the Harvey Weinstein, whatever you want to say it, the whole sexual abuse Hollywood film industry thing. I have experience, and where I have a twist is I'm also going to talk about how it's done to men as well. Women is definitely the huge change that needs to happen first off, but there's also things that happen to men as well. You can make your own conclusions of that one, but it hasn't happened to me particularly, but I would say no. And I'm going to give you some examples of things that I've seen. Again, I've had some wonderful experiences, and then the changes that we need to see happen, like actually happen in the culture and Hollywood and the real deal. So, for those who don't know, I am an actor and performer, have been in TV and film many times. This is going to be an unedited. I'm not editing this. This is 100% raw. Shirt's feeling funny. Why is it bunching up? Coming from the heart is being strong. Experiences. I'm going to go really quick. That is not just sexual abuse, it's racism. This is the one industry, there are some others in the government, but the one industry where you can pretty much say what you want and do what you want, and safety wise get away with what you want, and people skills are not a requirement in that industry, being in TV and film. Example, there was a particular, I'm going to leave names out, and that's one thing I wanted to address, is some of those wondering why haven't people spoke out. The truth should set you free, definitely say that, but you must be careful at the same time, because they can do lawsuits about you. Some of them have a crazy amount of money that they can try and twist your words, your proof. You have to be very careful to back up what you're saying, because they could say it's hearsay, it's your word versus them. Just saying that. Okay, experiences. I'm just going to give a couple brief, maybe 3 or 4, my experiences and what I've seen happen, and what I know sometimes is happening. So the first one that comes to mind was I'll do the racism one first, get that out of the way. It was a particular zombie franchise movie where a wardrobe lady who was crazy, she was getting mad at like everybody, she was like out of her mind, and she said to this one girl was working with us who happened to be black. I don't think like that. None of us cared. None of us said anything. We're all working together. We're performers, or whatever. We're doing our job. And she said to her, the wardrobe lady to her, "Don't you feel weird?" And she was white. "Oh, by the way, don't you feel weird being like a black girl here? Like, you're the only one. I would feel really weird about it." She's like, "That sounds a bit racist to me." Awesome for her calling it out. And she's like, and it's like, adult language off, And I went up to her and I'd heard it, and I said, like, that's totally what happened. And when she actually explained it and confirmed it was near the end of the day. And when I came back the next day, a bunch of crazy safety stuff happened. It was a horrible production. And this would not be tolerated in most workplaces, but yet no problem there. Another particular example I'll give, there was a TV show where there were notices posted all over the studio that says, like, constantly calling and texting and harassing women is not okay. And that's awesome that they put the notice there, but what did it actually do? It still happens all the time. It happens. I'll give example number 3 was I worked as an actor and performer. I was background, I believe, that day. Was on a sci-fi show, a TV series. I actually enjoyed working most of it. However, there's one day where they only called about 6 to 10 of us. We were all union. This makes a difference. So they'll show up in a second. And so we get there. It was a late call. I believe it was like a night shoot. I think we wrapped at like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. I don't know. It was really late. And we all got there and they told us, take off your clothes. Now, in this industry, you have to be prepared that there are scenes where you will be scantily clad or, nude, and you can choose whether to accept that or not. You can agree or disagree. Even have a thing on the forum. I don't know how it is with the SAG, but in Toronto ACTRA, you agree or disagree with the category you were booked. And you can also let the union know what happens. Get to that later. But yeah, they would just get there and like, take your clothes off. I was like, excuse me? Like, what? No one was told, and we were all represented by different agents, and yet no one was told? What does that tell you? Right? Nobody told. And there was one girl who I knew I worked with who I became friends with. She said no and she walked off, which was a bit drama, but hey, that's what her boundaries are. I totally respect that. Good for her. There was another girl who started crying. She was upset by it. She wasn't like bawling her eyes out, but she's visibly upset. And the wardrobe said, like, why? Do you have a problem with that? Even though he wasn't the one doing the makeup, we were done head to toe in makeup. We were almost had like no clothes on. It was pretty damn close to nude, let me tell you. You didn't see your junk, but they put on this like almost looked like, without giving away the TV show, like a red bandaged tape diaper. It was a bizarre outfit. While this happening, there was also shooting in. It was a tent, and I got hit in the head with a shell casing from the bullet. And thank God I had it. Even though we had like no clothes, they gave us sort of a hood, so it protected my head a bit. And I felt it, and inside I'm freaking out, going, "What the hell?" And I told the stunt coordinator, and I said, "Hey, I'm just letting you know that this happened, even though I'm going like should not be happening." And she apologized, and I got a small upgrade in pay, but it was not. I'm lucky that it didn't damage me. I know this sounds like I'm being super dramatic, but just a quick reminder. Brandon Lee, guy who was in The Crow, he died from a, a blank, whatever you call that, bullet, and he died. So this is real. Yeah. And nothing changed. I mean, none of us got paid this nudity thing. None of us got paid more, which was completely ridiculous. There was other stuff that was happening. Like, I'm giving you the short version. It's what nightmares are made of. So I'll leave out the details. But the point is, somebody came months into the show. It was about a month or two later. It was towards the end of the season wrapping. And there was a union rep there. And I asked about nudity. And I said, this happened. And they said, oh, you should contact the union steward. And I did. And they said, yep, this is, totally unacceptable, blah, blah, blah. But they're in bed with the production. Sometimes they do help you. But you have to fight and fight and fight and fight and fight and fight. And no, at the end, they said, sorry, we don't. And I had pictures. I had photographs of it. And sorry, you didn't get it. Did not get paid for it. Too bad. That's how it is. No one was told, well, oh well. So there is a change that needs to happen in this industry of, there are people who do speak out, and I have a newfound respect for Emma Thompson. From my understanding, she's told people there was like, you can look it up yourself, but they were told someone that she was too fat. Again, I've seen this. I've been told it myself, that, oh, you're a little fat to be a junkie, which is ridiculous because I am not fat. If you want to see me, look at me. I am thin. I am very thin. I have no problem with that. And yeah, that was like, she called it out and said, if you continue to do that, I will not work. Good for her. Good for her. I never knew that she was like that. I had newfound respect. And there's a lot of actors who don't because they're afraid or they don't. But there's a change in culture. I hear some of these big name actors, and I was specifically talking about the male ones, who say, oh, this is outrageous, it needs to change. BS. It's PR. You've seen it. You've known it. You know it's there. This is not new. It's not just a sexual thing. It's complete utter disrespect for safety. Just look up productions in Toronto that were in Fox News. Is there an orb flying around? That was really interesting. And it's continued to happen even though there were safety concerns and it was on the news, and yet completely unsafe working conditions happened. I had it happen and I called the union, and they didn't fully back us up, and I had to go through BS and watch the footage of it, and it continues to happen because part of the reason is they have agreements with productions, and productions, they changes the light again, and they say, if you don't, I mean, I don't know fully what they say, but from my understanding, what I've heard is like, oh, well, we can just go film in another city then, and you don't get the money in the agreements. So it's a delicate balance. I don't have the full solution. One of it is there has to be some kind of, I don't know if it's a disciplinary board. The reports need to be public. They need to be available to the public, and for productions to be accountable, some kind of system where they can intervene, preferably one, in my opinion, that is not involved in any of the unions, even though I'm part of a union, the unions helped, or the production, a completely like third party that regulates and actually does it. Because there was a third party regulator for safety in Ontario, and they said they heard a lot of complaints, but they told me straight up that we don't have a lot of actual power to make those changes. So this thing has been going on for a long time. It needs to change. It's real. It's not just happening to women, it's happening to men. I've heard and seen people being called many different things, and if you produce sexual favors, that you get more work, and completely ridiculous. And is it really worth it? Like, yeah. So that's my little story. The point is, people have the power. You have the right to say no. That's the main thing. You say no. I don't accept this. This is not right. This is not what I agree to. That's all. You don't have to get emo. You just say, this is not right. I did not ask for this. No. And it takes some kind of system that's going to change. But BS. You have to speak up about it. These people said, oh, I didn't know. These actors, you know who I'm thinking of. Maybe you don't. Particular male one. You knew. You fully knew. And you did nothing. Good for Rose McGowan for calling them out. Good for her. She seems like a bit of a... I don't know what her angle is. I've never been a fan of her. I don't have an idol for movie stars. It's never been my thing. I think I'd like to work with them. But the point is that people need to call them out and say, this is BS. But ultimately, is this going to change? 5 years from now, 10 years from now, are we still going to have this conversation? Are regulatory things going to happen? What's the discipline if you do something bad? What happens to you? That's bad. Don't do it again. Is that going to change it? Let me know what you think about the whole situation. But it is real, and that's my story.